These beings, when they want to encounter us, interact with us, they can simply, like a remote control, press pause and play. And literally, we're paused.
The idea of living in a simulated reality with NHI, and if this is the case, how much can NHI influence understanding that this is the makeup of the 3D?
It's as if they've been taken out of the reality that we know and moved to the next one where it's very similar, but it's just missing certain things, and it's missing the people and the cars and that sort of thing. Is this a glitch in reality? Are they manipulating reality? Is it multiple realities and they're just taking us from one level to the next to have the encounter and then put back? The evidence is stacking up. We do live in some type of simulation or matrix.
There's clearly some kind of understanding that NHI, the spectrum of them, know about what this is made of and how to use it.
How deep does NHI go in regarding our consciousness and the manipulation of reality, or even metaphysical areas where they take you not physically but spiritually?
Right now on Higher Journeys with Alexis Brooks.
Well, guess what? I am back with my co-host, Mr. Steve Mera, all the way from the UK. This is UAP and Beyond, y'all. This is episode 6, Steve. I cannot believe it. It's been a while. It's been a couple of months. Yes. But I felt that it was time. We both agreed that it was time to get this show back on the road because there is a lot to discuss.
A lot.
And you've got a lot to impart to our audience. So welcome back, and welcome everyone. Welcome back to UAP and Beyond. How are you, Steve? What's going on?
I'm doing well. Things are popping up left, right, and centre. And, don't get me wrong, it's fascinating when things do, but juggling it all and trying to, reference everything. But there's been a lot of things happening, a lot of things in the press, a lot of in the world of research, and even events, which are bringing out people talking about some real top-notch stuff. And it's been fascinating over the last few months.
Absolutely. Well, you brought up, we had a fantastic conversation, guys, off the air, prep for today's show. And Steve brought up an interview that I had not seen until just recently, that was put on by a gentleman by the name of Chris Ramsey. Shout out to Chris, who has a fantastic YouTube channel called Area 52.
Yeah.
And Chris did a fantastic interview with a gentleman by the name of Peter Corey. We have some clips we're going to show from it. But Steve, you brought Peter's name up, or Peter as a guest, in the context of our discussion around this idea of a simulation, the simulation theory, but not just on its own, but what role NHI may play in the manipulation of this simulation, and how much does NHI, ET, these beings understand and are utilizing this supposed matrix-like environment that we may perhaps be living in. So you know what I want to do? We have a bunch of clips, you guys, and I want to thank Chris Ramsey of Area 52 for giving us the nod to go ahead and play these clips from this interview, of which we'll have a link for the whole thing, by the way. Give us a little bit of the lead up into what we're going to see, Steve, about Peter telling this incredible story. When he was in Lebanon? He migrated to Australia.
He was in Lebanon as a child. I mean, the whole reason why I came across his clip, because I was hunting out things on the internet in regards to simulation theory, hypothesis. But I was in discussions with other researchers about the hypothesis that, these beings, when they want to encounter us, interact with us, they can simply, it's like a remote control, press pause and play. And literally, we're paused. And they go about the business, and then they put us back and they press play, and we're none the wiser. The only thing we could identify the fact is that we maybe have some missing time. And I only covered that because there were incidents in the UK. We refer to it as the Oz factor or umbrella perception type stuff. People can be walking, and this is a family. And it's not the only case. There's quite a number of these. There's a young child, mother and father. They're walking down a high street. They see this very large triangular object in the sky. They're thinking, why is nobody else looking at this? And then the next minute, the people are gone. The cars are gone. There's nobody but them. And they have this object, and they have this encounter. And then the next minute they remember is they're back on the high street. There's people around, the cars around. It's as if they've been taken out of the reality that we know and moved to the next one where it's very similar, but it's just missing certain things, and it's missing the people and the cars and that sort of thing. And I'm thinking to myself, well, is this a glitch in reality? Are they manipulating reality? Is it multiple realities, and they're just taking us from one level to the next to have the encounter and then put back? And this is how I came across Peter. And Peter grew up as a child in Lebanon, and he talks about an experience with his cousins and cousins' friends as children when he used to play on the top of a roof, a single-story building, large building, had a single-story roof where they play on. And of course, this is when this incident happened, which led to him to having, it was the first of many experiences he would have to have throughout his life.
Right. Well, we have a couple of clips that deal with this incident that happened on the roof of the building that Peter was with his friends and family. So I want to show one. There's actually two where he's referencing. One is actually the intro to Area 52's amazing production. He has such high production values. So this is the teaser for this. I think it's like a 5-hour long interview, you guys.
Yeah.
It's long and it's in two parts. But let's start with playing this intro so you can get a taste of what this gentleman Peter is discussing. Let's watch this.
Frozen like mannequins. I looked up and I saw an egg-shaped object, silver, and it had a massive windscreen on the front of it. This was no helicopter. This had no landing gear. It didn't have a propeller. It didn't have any doors.
Yeah.
But as I'm looking at it, I see the two beings inside this craft. And I see it drop about 5 meters. Bang. The next memory I have is we're all down on the bottom steps. We're looking at each other with confusion and asking each other like, we were on the roof. And before my head even hit the pillow, my hands didn't touch the pillow, I just felt something grab me around my ankles. As soon as that happened, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. And I look at the foot of the bed and I see a hooded figure about 4 foot in height, just standing there. And I assumed that's the one that grabbed my ankle. I'm looking at this creature and it looked horrific. It looked scary. As I look over, I see what to me looked like a female, and the male was over near my shoulder. Then I saw the big almond-shaped eyes, like I'm talking bigger than a horse's or a cow's eyes.
Black?
Massive. Black. Massive. And as soon as I looked in his eyes, that was the first thing I noticed. It was as if I fell into a void, like a dark space.
Wow. Okay.
I know.
I
It
don't
is
know where-
intriguing, and what we're seeing now is a few little clips from numerous different experiences he's had since
Yes.
that first experience out with the children. Because the whole point about being out there with the children was he waited for his younger cousin, who was the last person, which were all going to run up these stairs through this metal door, which leads to the flat roof to play on. The metal door is heavily sprung, so it always it's hard and it always springs back closed. So usually the process is we'll hold it for the next person and so on. He said that was the first thing he noticed was the door wasn't swinging back. It's as if the door was kept open for some reason. But he was the last one. And there was a bit of a gap between him and the others going up there, the children. But when he gets up there, they're frozen.
They're frozen.
And he thought, is this a game? You know, and he didn't understand.
And
what
he
was
proceeded
happening.
to tickle. Remember, you don't see this. He proceeded
was
to tickle
tickling
them to
them.
see if he could. He said,
Yeah.
if this is a game, then I'm definitely going to
Yeah.
get them to stop.
even
And
prodded
to no
them.
avail. Yeah, yeah.
And none of them were reactive whatsoever. They were frozen in time. And this is when he looked up and saw this
Right.
craft with this window screen with the two beings. And one of the beings is looking at the other being and him as if to say, why isn't he frozen? You know, and that's the impression he got. And it was a profound incident.
It was a profound incident. Well, you know, there's definitely other references that I'm actually another clip I want to play for you guys of an interview I did a couple of years ago now about, let's just call it a frozen reality. But Steve, I want to bring up this other frozen people. I don't, you know, as I was prepping for this, I'm like, what am I going to call this? The frozen people scene. But I mean, this is what we're talking about is literally freezing movement in its tracks, whether it's people, places, or things. And I want to bring up the Adjustment Bureau. As soon as you told me the story, I thought about, the Adjustment Bureau. We're going to get into the work of the late Philip K. Dick, who that movie was inspired by. And if anyone remembers that scene where the character played by, I started to say Jason Bourne, Matt Damon, who was Jason Bourne, who goes up to this office. I guess it was an office he was working in, and lo and behold, his like top staff, everybody actually in the building was literally in a frozen state. And when you look at the work of Philip K. Dick and the things that he, even though he was the master science fiction writer, they were based on his ideas around how reality worked, which goes back to the simulation model. So very interesting. Let's watch. You want to watch, you guys, the Charlie Robinson clip that I just briefly mentioned. This is going to be eerily familiar with what Peter was talking about here. Let's watch this.
You saw The Matrix, did you not?
I did see The Matrix. It just starts getting faster and faster and faster. And then I feel a bright light on the side of my head. As soon as that got done, boom, geometric patterns. And everything stopped. Everything froze. And I could see a very faint light green, bluish green, very light, almost like a faint laser that made a grid-like pattern through as far back as I could see in the horizon, and then all the way up. And that's when I started following the lines, and it was just like a grid. How am I supposed to go about my day-to-day life after this?
And everything froze. Steve, everything froze. What's up?
It's like a glitch that he's just seen through the veil, which doesn't happen very often, but people have reported little things, these glitches. It's not, there are problems. It seems that we do have I totally agree that the evidence is stacking up. We do live in some type of simulation or matrix, call it what you will, but the quantum physicists are saying it's, reality is created in here. Even color perception, perceptions of things around us, it's all created in the brain. And that reality is, in fact, we should be even seen upside down, but our eyes turn it around. Even told to me about that. It's fascinating. But then when you start to realize that the possibility that there is the simulation, then questions like, well, who made it? Who maintains it? What's it for? And are we living in something that we just do not understand? And if that is the case, then we have to say, well, NHI, non-human intelligences, are seemingly utilizing it when it comes to encounters, for sure. Even if it's just down to perception. I mean, remember John Keel when he investigated the Mothman prophecies, and he looked at the communications with Indrid Cole. And the question to Indrid Cole was, well, what do you look like? And Indrid Cole said, it depends on who's looking. And I just think, there's these little clues, go back and back, because, they say that they can be animated toys for children encounters. There can be something that looks not very nice. There can be something that looks beautiful. Is glitches in this system where it does seem that people can work things out. But missing time, and I said to you, I think the other day, didn't I, Alexis? I said, if you're driving down the freeway and you suddenly are taken for 5 minutes, pause, do what you want, put it back, play. You probably wouldn't know. Your likelihood that you might not realize you've just had a lot can happen in 5 minutes, that's right, but you might not even know. But how much is that envelope cover? Is it just you? Is it just you and your vehicle? Is it the world on pause? We just don't know, but it's strange, just like what Peter's experience is. It seemed like this craft was moving around. It dropped down an extra 10 feet, but the children are all frozen. And I think at some stage it even happened to him, but, they maybe missed him out because he wasn't up on the roof when they did this, And of course, they realized he came up the stairs and realized, hang on, he's not frozen.
Yeah, the beings that he said he encountered, and then we're going to get into the egg-shaped craft that hovered over that he believes was obviously connected. He said that he saw the beings, these sort of spindly looking faces of grays, or at least just sort of the look. And he said that they looked perplexed, like, why isn't he frozen? So they can even make mistakes.
They can make mistakes, exactly.
Yeah. I want to just briefly touch on a couple of things that you mentioned in terms of when we see, some of us can see these glitches on occasion for whatever reason, and we will take notice of things being almost identical. Let's say we're people that have talked about being in an out-of-body state. You and I talked about this. And in the out-of-body state, they will describe a room that is nearly identical to the room that they're in when they're having the OBE, but maybe a chair is missing or a picture shows up on the wall. It's an alteration or a mutation of the reality that they're used to seeing. So there's a similarity there, don't you think, Steve,
I
in
really
terms of
do,
these
yeah.
phenomena?
There's lots of different versions of these glitches. I mean, if you talk about advanced skull experiments, these are seance type experiments, very specific ones that were being carried out in Scotland. There was an incident when they were in communication with NHI, but the whole spirit team, the people in the seance, the table, the chairs they were sat on, were biolocated to the other side of the room, and nobody knew. Nobody felt any distortion, any movement. They just went out to reach for the light. It wasn't there. They thought, what's going on? Eventually found the lights, switch it on. We're on the other side of the room. And when they communicated with NHI, the response came back somewhat like, we made a blueprint because realities, there's multiple realities, and it's in ascending or descending order, and we just took you to the next level. So what we did is we took a blueprint of where you are, took you to the next level, and moved it back. So what we affect on that level affects the one below. And this is how they explained it. It's a bit hard to grab your head around it.
It is, but the way you just explained that, Steve, is very interesting. Imagine taking a snapshot of the room that you're in and putting it in another dimensional space and animating it. But maybe even intentionally, maybe you missed putting that chair in there that was in the other room. But in any case, you just see just enough of an alteration to see that you're not actually in the same frequency, or the same, I don't know if you would say frequency or dimensional space or layer of reality. There could be infinite layers.
Well, they do believe that. They do believe these possibly, when early NHI communications started in 2003, they confirmed that there were multiple realities. And now even science is catching up now, years on, saying, well, you know what, there's this good, strong evidence to support that there may be multiple realities. And if there are, in effect, stacked up in an ascension order, then the one of just above us, which is very close to ours, can be manipulated, and it manipulates the one below it because it affects the one below. And this is how it was kind of described to these people. How did we end up on the other side of the room? There are lots of little glitches that people talk about throughout their lives, and they just mark it down as well. I don't know, it's one of those strange things. But really, you could write volumes of books on one of those strange things. People keep saying this, but there does seem to be evidence of these little glitches. It's not inferior. It does there is little problems.
Right. Let's watch another clip of Peter. I can never remember. Please forgive me, Peter. Peter Corey. I believe that's how you pronounce it, from Area 52. Because I want to stay on, Steve, what we think may have actually happened with the frozen scene, we'll call it, with the young people on the roof. Let's just listen to this. It goes a little bit deeper into what he's describing here. Let's watch this.
In front of me, I noticed that all my cousins, well, there was 3 of my cousins and about 4 of my friends, and or our friends, and they were all frozen like mannequins, as if halfway through their step or movement, they just froze. And wherever their hands were, wherever their leg, knee was raised or something, they're frozen in that position. And I thought it was a game, and I thought I'm the last one up the stairs, so obviously I'm in. They're playing a joke on me. So I'm walking around, and they're still, like no movement whatsoever.
If they are
Thoughts
frozen,
on that?
it's like they're frozen in time. But how far does that go? Is it just the children, or is it the whole building? And you might not know. But then the thing is that they disappeared for apparently quite a length of time.
Well, if you recall, it was the parents and I was a little bit confused when you first explained it to me, but the parents came up looking for these kids, and none of them were anywhere to be found. And what they described is being literally, next thing they realized, they were at the bottom of the stairwell in that building. The parents came in and saw them and said, where the heck have you been? And they said, well, we were playing on the
Yeah.
roof.
It's a shame,
And they
really.
were getting
But
hit behind the knee,
they thought the
being
children were
chastised, called
lying.
liars.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of confusion about what went on. And you guys, again, please go watch the full interview. Take your time and watch it. We'll have a link because
There's
Peter
a
goes
lot
into
of information
exhaustive,
to intake,
he goes into exhaustive detail on the people that would talk about it and some that wouldn't. In fact, I think it was one of his little cousins. Was it the little girl that passed away from cancer not that long ago? But prior to her,
we're not talking 5 minutes here. They were gone for over 2 hours. I mean, what the hell happened to these people for over 2 hours? I mean, this is a local hangout. It's where they always play, is the top of this roof. They didn't really wander. They're only very young children. But when the parents go up there and they're wondering where are they, and they realise they're not there, they started panicking. They actually went up to the roof a couple of times. And this is why they scolded the kids so much, because they thought they must be lying, because we'd been up to the roof and they weren't there on more than one occasion. But the children didn't know what to say, because all they recall is being on the roof, and then next minute being at the bottom of the stairwell. Fascinating.
Wasn't it Peter's mother, Steve, who later admitted to Peter that she too had an experience or more of?
It was, yeah. I mean, this was just a starting point. It's like an initiation. It's like a lot of people, when you talk to them, they might say, look, my first experience, I was 6, I was 7, I was 5, whatever. But sometimes that's an initiation. That door's just been opened, but it doesn't completely shut. And it means that they go on through life having strange experiences. But that was the very first. And that seemed to be the situation with Peter. But as time went on and he started to experience more things, eventually his mother came clean and said, well, there's been some experiences that I may have had. And yeah, I can understand you're not going to tell your children, but when it comes to a point where they're having experiences, that's what happens. She eventually came clean and told him.
This has happened on numerous occasions in research that I've done on the intergenerational or familial link. We believe that, based on research, that far more families are having, it's a family affair, essentially, that these aren't just isolated incidents. And that leads into the whole idea of the abduction program as a program. Could it be that these families are singled out for a reason? I don't know. But this is Witness of Another World. Did you see that documentary by Alan Stivelman? Fantastic, about the Argentinian gaucho who was a lifelong experiencer, had a slew of childhood experiences, went through a lifetime of torture. I mean, he's not an old man now, but he's an adult. And his mother at the very end of, well, not at the very end of the story, but eventually divulged to his mother to her son that she indeed was an experiencer as well, and she was just trying to protect him from what she thought were demons.
Well, I mean, that's going to happen. People do have those experiences. I was only talking with some researchers from Brazil last month, and one of them was but it's a perfect scenario. He's driving down, he comes down this particular road at night when he finishes work, and it's a country road. There's not much round, there's not much light, and he never normally sees anybody. But on this particular night, he sees a gentleman, or he thought was a gentleman, but was not wearing any clothing. But he said something was strange about it. Something came over me. I saw, and something didn't look right, and I just got out of there. And it scared him that much. He said to himself, I'm never coming back on this road. I'm going to take another road home. The following night, he goes to take a detour. That road's closed. Arrows, detour. He follows this road. That road's closed. He had no option but to go down this road again to get home. And he sees this again. And he's like, after that, he's absolutely scared to death. He says, right, that's it. I'm never going, I'm making sure that, again, what happened was he decided to take yet a different type alternative route. The third night, couldn't get out from it. Detour, road closed, this, that, all reasons. He had to go back down that road. And that is when he had his profound encounter. It's as if they set the scene that you couldn't escape from it. We were going to get you one way or another if you tried to evade it for the last couple of days. And it's as like reality's done something to force him back on that road on the third night to have that profound encounter. He knew something was coming, and that's why he didn't want to be on that road. Poor fella.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, we're spending a little bit of time on Peter. I want to take us to yet another clip, still part of the same part of the story, where he gets a little bit more into detail about this craft that was hovering over the roof line where these kids were initially playing. And then I want you to go into some of what we talked about offline about what was revealed or what you have learned about egg-shaped objects. So let's watch this.
Probably 30 meters above us was an object. And now these days, I'm hearing a lot about egg-shaped objects, where back then, when I first got into the UFO field and started researching that, I hardly heard anybody talk. Maybe Officer Samora saw one landed in a in a desert, and he saw
there's like a few cases in France as well. There's like here and there a few little,
very rare though. And I looked up and I saw an egg-shaped object big as my neighbor, the house that we were playing on their roof. They used to have a VW Bug, Volkswagen, and I'd compare the shape and size to it, the size at least, and it was the perfectly shaped egg, silver, and it had a massive windscreen on the front of it that was darkly tinted. And imagine the egg with the pointed end up and the rounded end down the bottom. And most of the front of it was a tinted windscreen, very dark tint. But I could see two creatures inside, like very thin, very tall. Couldn't see any features, just a silhouette of them.
Eggs. They keep getting heard more. It's not something new. It's been around for some time, these strange egg-shaped crafts. Clearly that they're not very big. They seem to be maybe, transportation or reconnaissance or something like that. They don't seem to be very large. They tend to be about the size of a vehicle, at most, maybe two vehicles. But it is interesting that he talks about an egg, because we recently heard about egg regarding the Skywatcher program, with the egg that they found, and it was apparently being transported by a helicopter on a winch and rope. And then, of course, we go back into the past. We hear about other incidents of strange egg-shaped objects. Yes, these have been around for quite some time, but they tend to be getting more prominent in reports. But this isn't a new incident. It's a newly reported incident, but the incident took place when he was probably about 6 years old. So maybe 45, 50 years ago, maybe, if not more.
You had shared something that I can't recall when we were doing our prep meeting as to what you were able to find out about the egg and what it may be connected to.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, what I can say, without going into too much detail, is I know some work has been carried out on the video footage of the barber's egg under the helicopter. And I know that there has been confirmation. There's been some evidence to support its authenticity, which I found very interesting. Maybe not so much other ones that came later, which might be a bit questionable, the footage, but definitely this one. So maybe there is actually something to that, and the question will arise then, okay, so what have they got? Is it similar? Because we didn't see any kind of windscreen or anything on this thing, but clearly that some do have windscreens. So did he have windscreens all the time? Did he need to see out? Because most objects that we see in the sky, which are physical constructed objects of UFOs, most don't have windows, be honest with you. So did he need it? So he said he saw this big window and these two beings looking at each other in perplexed as to why he's not affected and the others are, but like I say, I don't know. Whatever they did, what did he do to pause us? Is it individual, or is it just let's pause reality around them? We're engulfed in this simulation, and we can point and say, let's just pause this area, and we'll capture whatever's in that area, and that's paused and locked. We'll go about our business, and you will be none the wiser. People like say afterwards, well, there was missing time, but these are children. They may not have even known there were any missing time, to be honest. Certainly the parents did. They said they were gone for over 2 hours, and that's
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
very long time.
Do you know whether Peter ever got a regression? Because he became
don't think
quite involved in the whole research of UFOs in his own story as well. But
Yeah, I mean, he was always talking about his experiences, but I don't think he wanted to go there because I think he got the impression there's things there that I shouldn't maybe remember. And he didn't want to because, it's a bit of a catch-22. You might want to have hypnosis, and if you do gain some memories, is there a reason why they're taking your memories away? Was there something which is troubling or traumatic for them, which maybe that out of insincerity they say, well, let's not have them remember that. It's not a nice, pleasant thing.
right.
I'm going to take a tooth out at the dentist. If you could click your fingers and say, let's take that memory away, I'd do it every day of the week. So maybe that's the situation. But should we pry? Should we go down that? People say, yes, I want to know. But afterwards, they might say, well, there might be a reason why sometimes you do recall the whole event, and some reasons why you might not recall the whole event.
I've always wondered when it comes to what we call screen memory, where individuals will have, a depiction of seeing a clown, perhaps, or an owl or a monkey. And under regression, it's revealed that monkey was actually some sort of
He
being.
was,
And so the idea
Yeah.
that screen memory may be a real phenomenon. Where is it originating from? Is it our own brain that is
I think so.
sophisticated enough to, it's almost like, our bodies are designed so brilliantly to protect us, essentially.
Yeah.
Protect us from information. Parts of our brain will shut down that, where there are memories that that we know will do us harm. And
Yeah.
so could it be us that is creating
Well,
the
I
memory
thought
shutdown, or
It could
them, or
be.
both?
It could be something that we are doing ourselves if it's something very traumatic. But in some cases, it's just been simple things that the brain, you think, well, it's not traumatic. Why did they forget that vital bit? Well, they've seen something about some technology. Now, they've not got it, but they're talking about some of the technology that they've seen. And it seems that was important enough for them to take that memory away, to be able to describe the technology. But some people have hypnosis, remembered this and wrote it out. But you are right. I mean, there are people which say, I was on this craft and then all of a sudden I saw my doctor and I'm in my doctor's room, but didn't quite look right. Well, it was never the doctor, and we were never in the doctor's room, but maybe they do bring on the process of the appearance of humans. I mean, the Pascagoula case, they said they took them on board, these strange creatures with clamped finger hands sort of thing. But behind the screen, they said they saw maybe 2 or 3 human people. But are they really human people? Have they put them there just to bring your levels down a little bit?
Right.
Or you seen other humans there, then maybe you won't panic so much. Information like that, getting a doctor in the doctor's room. The doctor's room was exactly the same as the doctor's room. They have to get it from the individual's mind. They've got to, and then throw it back at you in a sense, to utilize.
Right.
Very clever, to be honest with you.
Well, this also reminds me of the dreamscape, and we all know that dreams have this very uncanny way of giving us certain symbolism that it knows will be important for us. It's almost as if the dreamscape or whatever's controlling it is very intelligent. I don't know if it's coming from our own higher self, some form of, outside influence, but it knows to the detail what to show us that only we as the individual observing, it's a very subjective relationship. And it reminds me of what we're really talking about here. What do you think about that? I mean,
I do. I think I totally agree. I mean, I think we see this scope right through everywhere. I mean, it's not just that we're experiencing these beings and entities in real life encounters, but people are reporting it in near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, astral projection, altered states of consciousness, DMT. It's like no matter what state we're in, these are governed. They're in there in everything. Whatever these things are, they've got control in all levels of forms of consciousness, depending on what we're experiencing. This could be near death, altered state, out of body, or even just a normal life encounter. But they are seemingly across the whole board.
yeah, absolutely. Let's get back to this idea of, what we want to try to do is marry the idea of living in a simulated reality or a matrix-ish reality with NHI. And if this is the case, how much can NHI influence understanding that this is the makeup of the 3D? So many questions, guys. There's no way we can make any definitive statements, but there's clearly some kind of understanding that NHI, the spectrum of them, know about what this is made of and how to use it. Maybe for us, maybe against us, or maybe it's neutral. I don't know.
I think there's plenty of information out all over the internet that demonstrates that multiple people from all over the world have very different variations of these glitches. There was a couple in Australia driving down a kind of a sandy road, and they see this object at night in the sky, and they're thinking, this object's pretty big, pretty low, it's over the road. She's screaming, turn around, so the husband turns the vehicle around. He's driving in the opposite direction away from this. They go down, and the next minute they're back on the same road, traveling in the same direction. I said, didn't we just turn around? So there's like a glitch, and suddenly you're back facing that direction that you were trying to get away from. There's so many strange, profound things that you have to say something is responsible for creating a glitch in the system. Now, are they the caretakers? Are NHI the caretakers of this simulation that we live in? Or they might not be, but they know how to manipulate it or utilize it for themselves. And that's what's so strange.
Speaking of strange, I'm going to admit to you what just happened. I don't think you saw it, and it is very strange. Out of the blue, I just got booted out of this studio. You
Really?
didn't see that. I don't know.
I just appeared on screen, but I thought it was just a.
In all the years I have been using this wonderful platform, I won't even name the platform. Y'all probably know what it is. I just got booted out of the studio. You talk about a glitch in the matrix. What was that all about?
Yeah, I know. It does seem to
happen. I'm gonna leave this in post so y'all can see exactly what happened. I'm not gonna try to do a comb over.
No, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it does happen.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of that, the glitch in the matrix, I want to play a clip that you sent to me that I believe you featured about a psychologist, and you're going to have to remind me of his name. Here he is, Dr. Donald Hoffman, who gives his idea of his views on reality outside of the space-time continuum, and this is very important. So let's watch this, and we'll have you comment after.
That no one, even the most advanced professionals, really understands the nature of reality, and it's one of the big open problems and questions in science today. We all might have ideas. We might think we know something. Our best science suggests that our imagination is not yet big enough. We need to explore further. Most of us think of reality as whatever is inside space and time. We actually know that space-time cannot be the fundamental nature of reality. But we know our best theories of space-time, Einstein's theory together with quantum theory, tell us that space-time cannot be the fundamental nature of reality. For most people, they think that space-time is the reality, and what I'm saying is it's the reality that most of us have assumed is the final reality, and science is now telling us it can't be. It actually, and it tells us precisely at 10 to the minus 33 centimeters, 10 to the minus 43 seconds, the very notion of space-time makes no sense. I'm suggesting we should think of space-time as just a virtual reality headset.
There were actually two reports. I don't know if I brought this up yet. I don't think I have. That came out, one about a few days ago and the other about a month ago. The first, one came out in Popular Mechanics, a physicist by the name of Melvin Vopson, who believes that he does have evidence that we may be living in a simulated reality, just kind of piggybacking on what Dr. Hoffman said. So he was using his, I never heard of this before, second law of infodynamics. So Vopson claims that the decrease, and this is getting a little scientific, y'all. So let's see if we can dissect this. He says the decrease of entropy in information systems over time could prove that the universe has a built-in, quote, data optimization and compression, which speaks to its digital nature. Now, Here's another report that came out just a couple of days ago, and this got a fair amount of coverage from the University of British Columbia in Canada. Suggests that our universe is not a computer simulation, because they found that reality runs on what they're saying principles that no algorithm or computer could ever fully capture. So in other words, the universe, and maybe it says consciousness itself, operates beyond code. I don't believe that. Well, I do believe that consciousness operates beyond
definitely
code. The brain. But that aside, you got two vehemently opposed views here from two very credible sources. What say you, and particularly on the heels of what Dr. Hoffman just said?
Well, it's funny how there's always a pattern of these events when something very credible comes out from a well-known establishment, and then all of a sudden you've got the opposing with just as much coverage, and you think to yourself, it's just like it's done on purpose sometimes. It's like, what is the chance of having that over and over again? That is always someone by chance who's going to release a report around about the same time opposing, but I look at all the data, and it far exceeds the opposing. There's so many researchers and specialists coming forward now saying reality is a construct and it's created in our mind, but the physicality of this construct, it can be manipulated. Now, if you just did testing regarding how lucky people are, you think, well, how can they cause a ball to fall to the left instead of the right? Because they thinking to themselves, I want it, I will it, and it does happen. If over hundreds and hundreds of trial tests, statistically speaking, there's a little glitch. It's actually falling more to the left side as they want it to. It shouldn't do. It should fall in the middle if the parameters are normal and it's just by chance. But no, people can train themselves to not break it, but bend it in their favor. And it's like putting out for things and getting rewarded back from the matrix. And I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah.
So when you really look at that data and you think to yourself, how can it be if it's just a random? It seems that we are, entwined with this reality, and we can manipulate it through consciousness thought.
I think that's probably one of the most provocative parts of the simulation theory. It's not just that what we're watching or interacting with out there is a part of the simulation, but are we too?
Well,
are we? Let's talk about the brain for a minute. I know I'm speaking a little out of school, but when you think of the brain, not as organic matter, but perhaps a decoder, a computer in and of itself, that means that the physiology of us is perhaps encoded as well, and coded to be able, or I should say programmed to be able to decode the simulation vis-a-vis the brain.
Exactly. There's a lot more going on than we can ever understand. Science has got to catch up. But we're learning about consciousness. We're learning that the universe is conscious. There was an article only within the last few months about the universe may all be conscious. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, so we're all linked, we're all connected somehow. So if that's the case and we are linked and connected, then maybe it's pliable to us through thought, through consciousness, through putting out for things and getting it. So it may be that we can bend it in our favor. Well, if we can, I'm sure NHI can, non-human intelligence.
Bring us back full circle. Absolutely. Yeah. I wish we could find a source or an individual that has had ongoing contact. Let me just make this point that, how would I say this? There are individuals that are having ongoing contact. We're not going to call it abduction. We're going to call it relationships with some of these beings that impart information. And in that information, I wonder if any of these beings have explained their relationship with this universe and how. A lot of people have gotten a lot of intelligent information from them, let's say the more benevolent beings.
Well, that's if they're okay to share it. I mean, are people ever told certain things and then told, please don't share this?
Well, of course.
We'll never know. I'm sure NHI have their own secrets because they're not landing on the White House lawn. So they don't want disclosure, no matter how much you, me, and the world might want it. They don't, because they would have done it
Well,
by
who's
now.
the they? Who's the
Well,
they, though?
whoever these intelligence, no matter if you want to consider it one intelligence, which is all multiple things, all these variations of these intelligences, but seems not one of them is going to land on the White House lawn. They've been
Well,
doing.
who cares about? We don't want them to land on the White House
Well,
lawn. That would
no, but,
be a slap
I
in our
mean,
face.
just
They
to
don't.
put it out,
White House
you know,
doesn't deserve that.
yeah, no, it doesn't. But to say to the world, hey guys, you cannot ignore this. We are here. They don't want to do that. They want to go behind the scenes and do and carry on what they want to do. So that seems to be, okay, it's a bit clandestine, but okay, they want to secretly go ahead and do one of their things. That's fine. But I do have people, when we talked about the telepathy tapes and and these autistic children going to the hill, which seems to be, no hills are pink and purple. The whole view of this is like a wonderful rainbow land. It's geared for children, to capture the imagination of children. What's created that? Well, it's interesting that NHI have been involved and been seen to interact there on this hill with these pods of communicators. And you think to yourself, is this a metaphysical place been created for them? And then I've got people contacting me, watch that earlier show of ours and saying, I'm not going to go into details, but as a remote viewer, I can confirm that some of the things that you're saying is correct. This is something that's been created solely for the children. But who's created it and why NHI there? And this is what I say. How deep does NHI go in regarding our consciousness and the manipulation of reality, or even metaphysical areas where they take you not physically, but spiritually? Could take you in both ways.
Yeah. I had Dr. Diane Hennessy on the show not that long ago. And of course, we addressed the hill and her thoughts on, such an elusive, topic. And she obviously she was very clear in saying it's not a physical place. I think we all know that it's more of a dimensional space. But she believes that, well, what she did was she drew a correlation between how they describe the hill and many ancient Buddhist sites that also have these spots where they refer to them in the same way but as a physical hill. So was this metaphysical hill inspired by these very sacred areas of hills?
I remember in that show, I said, I think there were many hills. From what I was told, there were many hills. Now, there might be different countries and different, social conditionings, belief, and all those things come into it. But why should NHI be across the whole thing? It does concern me a little bit, because I often question, well, they're being secretive, and I'd be a little concerned if my children were, but like I say, when it comes to reality, what is reality? Can it be altered? And can we really trust our eyes and our senses if it can be so easily manipulated? And if something can come along and just press pause and then play, how many people are having experiences throughout their lives, throughout the day, around the world, missing 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and never even know.
And never even noticing it. Absolutely.
They never. It's easily done.
What is reality? That's why I got into this work, to try to understand
the question, isn't it?
what is the true nature of reality. And the question may be, is there a primary reality, or are we looking at a multi infinite layers of reality? Hey, listen, I want to move on here. By the way, couple of announcements. First one, after show, Patreon after show, guys. We talked about the egg. We mentioned Jake Barber. You've got a little bit of insight, a little deeper insight into his organization, Skywatcher, that I wasn't aware of. So shoot on over next door in a little bit. We're going to go over there and talk about that. So that's number one. Number two, speaking of the White House, right? So I just saw an article in the Daily Mail, Steve, where our U.S. Vice President, J.D. Vance, calls himself a UFO lunatic. As a matter of fact, he's kind of crazy about the issue, and he's really vying for disclosure and the government pulling the curtain back on what the heck is going on. And he is determined to get to the bottom of the issue before his period is up.
Well,
yes, he's definitely.
So.
And he was this Daily Mail article, and I think he was on a podcast called Podforce One. I've never heard of that. until just recently.
That's a
But
bit
he
corny.
went on the record and said, "Yeah, I'm very very interested in it. You know, I put on the tinfoil hat every once in a while, and it was a little too
There's
tongue in
been a
cheek for
few
me."
people in high positions that have said this. Is it by public demand? Because people are demanding answers. They've been very disappointed at UAP hearings. There's more
Yeah.
conversations now as to it seems to have failed. In some cases, they were being evasive, the whistleblowers. Um, there was people who are Congressman Luna, should we say, who was trying to bring these people together. They were making excuses not to attend, and then sometimes they were told somebody didn't want them to be talking about certain things, and there was some seemingly control, and it's not transparent. It's not. If someone's at the driving wheel somewhere saying you can't talk about this and you can talk about that, doesn't really not gone anywhere. We haven't got really anything from. And if how many have we had now? 2, 3, maybe more. I don't know, but it's a bit disappointing. People are a bit deflated with it all, to be honest with you, because it seems that the real good information is out there, not in the Pentagon, because it doesn't seem to get there, and it's frustrating. Nobody wants to talk about missing time. It's still there. Nobody will ever talk about it in the Pentagon, in UAP hearings, amongst many other things. All it seems to be about, and this is what people have said to me in the high levels, it's all about the tech. It's all about the flashy UFOs in the sky, and that's it. No more, no less. But it's so much more about consciousness, missing time, those experiences with these things they're never getting into. And it's a shame, really, because I think a lot of it is out there in the world, but not being taken indoors to the Pentagon. So, yeah, it's a bit deflating. It's a shame.
A lot to parse. And I don't know if we're looking in the wrong direction. We tend to want to look toward our officials. I say we, not all of us, but for the ultimate truth. But we know the ultimate truth is going to come from here. That's where it's really going to come from. But at the same time, I've been very interested to see the needle turn a little bit more toward or less on the tongue-in-cheek aspects and the giggle factor when it comes to our official narrative, and a little bit more serious. So from that perspective, I'm very delighted to see that. But I agree with you. I think we still have a long way to go. And are they just spinning our wheels?
The subject, it's not the elephant in the room anymore, thanks to the media and thanks for putting it out to the Pentagon. So that there is something that's come good of this. Absolutely. But are we ever, how long is it going to take? I mean, they keep talking about that terrible word disclosure. And I don't think what is disclosure? It means so many different things in so many different layers. We might actually already be in some form of disclosure through the drip feed program, which has been going on for many years. I mean, most children now, you talk about aliens and UFOs, and yeah, they'll draw you an alien grey, they'll draw you a UFO. Oh yeah, and they'll say, they're coming to planet Earth and this, that, and that'll be it. And that's in the mindset. It's everywhere. So they've done the job on it. If something is to happen and gets out to the general public, I don't think there will be as much shock and awe. So that's been controlled over the years in this drip feed process. So it is a form of disclosure, really. But is it hard hit, absolute disclosure? My fellow Americans, they are here. I don't think we will ever get that, to be honest with you. I hope so, but I don't think we will.
Well, a lot to pick up on here. Listen, we're gonna go next door. You guys, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna be very transparent. The government may not be, but I'm gonna be. I can barely hear you. Something really weird is going on here, Steve. I can barely hear what you're saying. I know our audience can. This happened before, and I just find that when we have these really edgy discussions,
I know it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to the Patreon after show sign off. Come on over and join us. We're going to talk about Skywatcher. And of course, there'll be more episodes of UAP and Beyond. So, Steve, as always, thank you for being my co-pilot for UAP and Beyond. And we will see you all next door. And if not, we'll see you next time right here on Higher Journeys. Take care.